Natwampane ay 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 tuvwange ay 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 natwampane ay 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 ay.
Hello again and welcome to the fourth conversation in the series of talks that we've been having around the global minimum standards for GBV. So we're talking about GBV planning, programming, response and prevention. My name is Waya Malama. I'm coming in from GIZ. And with me on the panel, I have colleagues from various stakeholders. On my first hand here, I have Florence. Florence is coming in from Lifeline Childline. Welcome, Florence.
Thank you for having me.
And on my other hand, I also have Pero. Pero is coming in from Walk With Me Foundation. Pero, you're welcome.
Thank you, Alia.
I also have Gibson. Gibson is coming in from Childline Lifeline. You're welcome, Gibson.
Thank you for having me.
And on the far end, we have Patricia. Patricia is joining us from Strong Mind Zambia. Patricia, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So as I mentioned, today we're focusing on psychosocial support and, counseling and the various supports that are included under psychosocial support and GBV. So the first question would be, just to get everyone up to speed, people who are watching us from various locations, what exactly is defined by psychosocial support and its relation to GBV?
Yeah, basically when we talk of psychosocial support, this is actually a wider term, which includes the mental support as well as the social support that we can offer to an individual that is going through different, it could be mental challenges, social challenges, challenges, whatever it might be. It actually encompassed under psychosocial support.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So when you talk about psychosocial support and its offering, you mentioned that it's a broad, holistic approach that is offered to anyone. However, if related to GBV survivors, how would you say these services, what kind of services are we talking about when we say psychosocial support for GBV survivors?
Yeah, firstly, we're looking at a GBV survivor. Yes. This is a person who has gone through GBV experience. And of course, GBV itself is traumatizing. And it's something that cuts your resolve or your position in terms of life expectation and things that you want to do and the assurance of your destiny, for lack of a better term. Now, with psychosocial counseling, you're literally coming down to help this person so that they be positive again and be able to live again and be able to live the experiences that they've had through this GBV spell and behind it and be able to face life and be able to be positive and also contribute to life and live with everyone else. That's basically what we talk about.
And this kind of support is key, isn't it, for the survivor to continue with their journey of healing, isn't it? Yeah. So now that we're talking about how key it is and how very, holistic it is, what would you describe to be the effective kind of psychosocial counseling? How can we ensure that we have effective psychosocial counseling that we provide to the GBV survivors?
Well, for me, I would look at holistic psychosocial support as support that takes into consideration every step of the recovery process. So from the time the person reports this act of GBV and the time they experience it, right to toward getting to the end of their recovery process. So this includes the counseling, their reintegration, their access to employment opportunities, their removal from the toxic environment or the GBV environment that they live in, all the way up to them being able to participate, like Gibson had said, in life and everyday life. So this should be the treatment or services or psychosocial support should encompass and consider every aspect of recovery.
Okay. And when it comes to offering this psychosocial support, is there a kind of, is it segmented, for example, the kind of psychosocial support a young person would receive as compared to the psychosocial support that maybe an adult person would receive? Is there any specific differentiation, or is it kind of the same?
I'll just touch on this briefly, but I think my colleagues can also add on. I think it should be very user focused, like every other service. It should focus on exactly who you're providing the service to.
Absolutely.
My experience in a GBV situation may not be the same as let's say 13-year-old experiencing GBV. So whatever services we're creating should be specific to the user. So it might be the services should include my reintegration into education, whereas someone else's might have to consider their work environment as well. So every service that's offered to people, every solution should be human focused and human centered, focusing on the actual user need.
Yeah.
Maybe just add on to what Pearl was saying.
Yes, please.
Like for our area in Lifeline Childline Zambia, we run 2 services.
Yeah.
One which is child friendly, which is called 116 Child Helpline.
Okay. Yes.
And then we have adult focus in addressing adult needs and young persons. So we would use the line 933. So like he says, it's centered on the caller of what kind of services that person would need. You can't talk about a child like, okay, now you're married, you have to do that. No, it's just really focused on the children. That's why in our kind of services that we provide, we've even provided the 2 lines, which is child-centered, which is a child helpline for children and young adults. And then also for 933, basically for the adults.
Okay.
Maybe just to add on.
Yes, please.
Well, the whole process may be the same. It's the approach.
It's the approach.
Because you're looking at a child that you're dealing with. So the approach definitely will be child-centered.
Yes.
And of course, when you're talking about psychosocial counseling, you're talking about client-centered. This person that you're dealing with and the issues that they're going through, and what age are they? And that's what also feeds your counseling. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I like how you are bringing out the issues of individual counseling for individual people, because we all process trauma differently. And I think it's really, really important to have such a vast level of experience from the different organizations, and seeing how you are definitely focusing on how each person that comes in with a GBV case as an individual, and, you know, treating their trauma individually and respective to however and the situation has been.
Definitely. I think every problem that we address should focus on an actual need and the person who needs the service. So if we're going to offer services that just group everyone together, I don't think that will create a sort of sustainable solution for whatever problem we're trying to address.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And when it comes to opportunities, what opportunities do you see for Zambia? Because, you know, obviously we want to always continue growing and keep doing better. So from the vast experiences and the vast organizations that you're coming from, what opportunities do you see for Zambia to be able to provide these holistic counseling services to the survivors? What areas of growth would you identify, or would you like to speak to in terms of psychosocial support?
Yeah, I think from my background and having worked in the community, there's a lot of there's limited knowledge, so to say. Awareness is lacking. So really, we need to go out there in the community and sensitize with especially the women that are going through GBV, because many times they may be going through that situation, but they are hidden out there. They do not want to come out and voice out. So that aspect of awareness is actually very important.
Okay.
We have to do.
For me, I think it's an opportunity for collaboration. I think just dealing with the entire psychosocial support system is not something that can be done just by one group of people. It's something that has to take into consideration all the different sectors and all the different stakeholders. So if it means collaboration with the Ministry of Home Affairs, with community development, with the community service providers, us working in the community, Lifeline that's offering their phone-in service, it's a really great opportunity for collaboration and for working together to provide this holistic service that we're looking for.
Yeah.
I think there's still much that needs to be done.
Yes.
Like there was said, I think before we come on, she was talking about Kenya.
Yeah.
How Kenya has gone ahead to involve almost all the levels of community leadership, talking about the church. Of course, we laughed about the traditional healers.
Yes, but they're there.
Important, yes.
Very
There's
prominent
such
in our
an important,
communities.
such an
Very,
important part of our
Because they also have
communities.
a following. So basically, whoever has a following needs to come on board and be able to help. This problem is not a small problem, but it's one that needs concerted efforts. Everybody must be involved.
Yeah.
I think we can't really take away from the fact that if you look at our community and our traditions and our cultures, we're very much culturally, spiritually, and religiously oriented.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spirituality involved. Most people come to you thinking this problem is a spiritual problem, and you can't really throw that out.
Yeah.
You need to actually take into consideration this person's background. If it means re-educating them and having them relook at their actual problem, let's not throw away their beliefs and their cultures and where they're coming from as well. So it's such an important thing to actually involve every person in the community and the different community leaders as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, just to add on, we're also learning from other countries in the region. We learn the best practices and bring it to Zambia and see if that works. So it's not only through our community, but also from other countries who are doing similar work with us. What is working in your country? How is it being done? So we also try and tap in those areas and bring those to our community. Of course, some of the things don't work.
Of course.
But most of the things I think are much similar because we are all really Africans and very little things that we can't share. So sharing is a great opportunity for all of us to work in this field.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
I
much.
think I agree with Florence. When you look at some of the best solutions, they actually come from an already existing solution that we actually now just take and kind of recreate and find where the gaps or the loopholes are. Relate
how it
them to
suits your
how is it going to suit our cultural context or our community context? How are we going to create this solution for Zambia or specifically for a specific region, considering we're very similar, but we are also very different. We're very diverse. So I don't think we should throw away the trying to take solutions or best practices from other areas in the region.
Thank you so much. So speaking of bringing in different actors and bringing in different sectors of the community, is there a way that you think we could work better in terms of engaging men, for example, or men especially, as partners of GBV prevention and also response?
Yeah, I think that one is a very important component. If we are going to win this fight, we need to bring men on board.
Absolutely.
Because mostly they are the perpetrators. Now, we've been dealing with women who are the victims most of the time, but then we are not really handling the root cause of the problem. The men who are the perpetrators are the root cause of the problem. And we need to bring them on board so that we begin to discuss these things and begin to find solutions together with the men. Because after you've handled the woman and she's gone back home, it's basically going back to
the same problem.
Same environment.
But when you bring men on board and then they begin to learn, I remember we were handling a situation in Chongwe. I think that was early this year, where we brought a lot of men to that gathering. And one man stood up and said, I didn't know that even the little that I do to my wife is actually GBV. From today, I'm not going to do it. So it can really make an impact if men are invited and they're brought also on board.
I completely agree with you. And I feel like any problem that we're going to solve needs to be solved from the root. It's like cutting a tree and just cutting the top of it. It will most probably still grow. If you want to uproot the tree, you need to uproot it like from the base and take out the roots. So if we're going to sort out the problem of GBV, we need to consider exactly where the problem is coming from. What's the root cause of it? And if men are the root cause or men are part of the problem, we need to bring them in sorting out the problem.
And just to add on to this discussion, we have found also that more men call the helpline.
Yeah.
In that, I think they just want to learn also, and also to.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Did you say
yeah.
more men call the
Yes,
helpline?
more men call the helpline.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, they also want to understand what GBV is, because they'll say, okay, my wife is nagging me, and if I talk back, is that GBV?
Yes.
As some of the things, or I'm going through one or two things. Really, are you going to hear me, or you're only going to hear from my wife? So it's a two-way thing. So even men have the space to call the helpline and not be judged.
Absolutely.
Because maybe sometimes they're also beaten and they don't want to share it with the other people because of they'll be laughed at.
Yeah.
So they'd rather talk to a faceless person and air their grievance and say, look, guys, I'm also going through this, but I can't tell my friends. How do I go about it? So even men have got a space to where we can get them and get them to speak, and also have them speak to their fellow men that this is the problem that we're going through.
And the truth is we live in a gendered world. So no one really expects you as a man to come out weak. You calling in would be considered you being weak, when in actual fact, that's part of you sorting out the problem. And it shouldn't be a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. Yeah.
And you may wish to know what time they like calling. It's in the night.
It's in far from office hours, far from no one else is listening. And it's a very unfortunate thing, because if we're trying to readdress the actual root cause of GBV and violence prevalence, it's really around the attitudes that we have been raised to believe and the social norms that we follow. Of course, the harmful ones, not the good ones, but you know, the cultural aspects that we have, and all of that can only change by engaging both male and female in conversations that restructure how you see your partner, or how you see your wife, or how you see your child, or your Bululu, in fact. So I think it's really important that these conversations are, they're kept ongoing. People should continue accessing the various services that you are offering through psychosocial support, and for people to know that it's not limited to survivors, but also perpetrators, isn't it? Because yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me, and I hope that one or two people still listened in and will be able to call in through the various and access the various services that you're offering, just to readdress this issue of GBV that has caused so much harm in our society. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much for having us, Walia.
Natwampane ay 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 tuvwange ay 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 natwampane ay 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 ay